All right, welcome to Positively Onwards, Thrive and Shine Thursday. This is May 25th, and what I'd like to do today is actually talk to you about some of the tools and techniques that you can use for when you are frustrated, angry, sad, anxious, fearful in the moment. Like what to do in the moment, because that's when we're at our most vulnerable and it can be the most difficult to deal with things. So before I get into that, let me just do a brief recap of what we did last time. So last time I did a video that I broke up into two sections, and it was on stem cell activation technology, the patches, and I showed how to use them on yourself, your pets, that kind of thing. So I hope you go back and take a look at that. But today I'm excited because we're going to talk about what I call mindset in the moment. And this is Lisa technique. This is Lisa information. This isn't anything that you're going to find anywhere else on the web or anything like that. But it's something that it has been useful for me and in my practice and with my patients. And so this is something that you can use for yourself. You can teach your kids, you can teach your parents, you can teach your partners. So this isn't just something that you can use on yourself. So take this information and use it for whatever you can to help other people as well. As I said, this is for times when you're feeling angry, sad, anxious, fearful, upset, worried, any of those kinds of issues where you find yourself stuck and perseverating. One of the things I love about Chinese medicine is we value all of the emotions. All of the emotions are connected to different organ systems, and the emotions are meant to move through us, give us information, and then continue on their way, right? So they're energy in motion, emotion. And what happens is when we get stuck in an emotion, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it can become a sickness or an illness or affect anywhere along those organ systems where the emotion is. So this is like qigong or tai chi for your emotions to keep them moving. And so I do this in 3 steps. There's breathe, there's believe, and there's begin. So the breathe part is when you're in the moment of feeling sad, angry, anxious, fearful. What often happens is we stop breathing. It's not intentional. So imagine if you're frightened by something, you go, right, there's that you breathe in and hold it for a second. You don't even realize it. And you have to let it out. So the first thing to do is just observe your breath. We're not judging. There's no judgment here. We're just observing. What am I doing? Am I breathing? And then allow yourself to count. If you start to count, then you'll realize, okay, I am breathing in. I'm inhaling and I'm exhaling. And then you can adjust it. You can bring it down to your belly button. You can bring it up to your chest. You can feel where it's moving in your body. So you can adjust it and you can modify it. You can modify it. And there is a particular type of breathing. It's a meditation. It's super simple. It's my favorite meditation to teach anybody, especially if they're a beginner. Because oftentimes when we think of meditation, we think you have to twist yourself up into a pretzel or something to meditate and get pillows and candles and incense. You don't. You can do this in your car. You can do it in your bed. You can do it in a chair. You can do it while people are talking. You can actually do this just quietly and silently. And it's a breathing technique that's called 478. And it's developed by Dr. Andrew Weil. And so I'm going to show you this technique. But first, I just want to go through the believe and the begin real quick here. So we're going to come back to that technique in a second. We're actually going to watch a video. It's a 2-minute video of Andrew Weil teaching this technique. And I'll give you a little bit of information about him because I'm a super fan. So after breathe, then we want to believe. And this is really observing the belief that you have about yourself in the moment. Because with this fear, with the anger, with the sadness, there's a belief that's in there too. And so if you can unwind it a little bit, if you can figure out what that is and state what that belief is out loud, what is it? Is I'm angry about, or I feel like nobody is listening to me, or I'm not worthy of this, or I deserve this. That would be the other aspect of that. So start to state what that belief is and question, is that really something that you believe? Is that something you've been taught? Is that a habit? Oftentimes our beliefs are habits. And let's see if we can move that belief. And the move is a literal move. If we start to move our body, if we just start to move our body a little bit around, it helps to breathe and it helps us to shift the belief. And one of the ways to shift the belief is to ask yourself, what if, and the opposite of that belief that you stated up here. So what if I was worthy? What if I didn't deserve that? What if I could feel better about this in another way? What if I could have a different perspective? So that will help you to shift whatever the belief, the underlying belief is in there. And that's a huge momentum shift for you and your body. There is a Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm going to introduce you to him. I'm not going to show a video with him, but I am going to give you a link to a couple of his videos because he is on the forefront of developing techniques and doing research that actually shows the impact of shifting our beliefs and moving our body and feeling that connection in our heart. And he has a very, very dialed in method of doing this. And he's got a lot of research behind it. A lot of people have gone through his classes and courses and had significant dramatic effects on their mind, their body, disease states. And he's documenting these. So we can't just call them miracles. We can't just call them, oh, this just happens every once in a while. He's really developed a system for shifting illness through mind, body connection. And then the last piece is what I call begin. And this is a technique that I am going to teach you today because it's super simple and it's very powerful. And this is starting with the end in mind. So with this column, I'm going to start with the end in mind because this is a technique to observe where you are, question it. I'll show you how to do this. Play around with where you are now, where you would really like to be, and then imagine yourself in the place where you'd like to be and tell the story as if it already happened with the greatest outcome you could imagine. So it sounds silly, but it's super powerful. So those are my 3 sort of in the mindset moments. And you can screenshot this, you can hang this up, but it's breathe, believe, and begin. The breath is the most important part. And so that's where we're going to start. And this is a technique that Dr. Andrew Weil has developed. And so I am going to play this video. Here we go.
The 4-7-8 breath that I teach is the most powerful relaxation method that I've discovered. It's very simple, requires no equipment, takes very little time, costs nothing. And it is a practice. It's something that you have to do regularly. So in this technique, you breathe in through your nose quietly to a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then blow air out through your mouth audibly and forcefully. And you do this for a total of 4 breath cycles. So I'm going to show you what this looks like.
Oh, wait.
And that's all. It's a bit hard for me to come back and talk to you after I do that because this produces a very pleasant altered state of consciousness that I'd rather stay in. You may not get that the first time you try it, but it's a reward of practicing this. And this is a practice. You must do this at least twice a day. So that 4 breath cycles at least twice a day. After a month, if you're comfortable with it, you can increase to 8 breath cycles each time you do it, but that's the absolute maximum. You can do it more frequently than twice a day, but never more than 4 or 8 breath cycles at one time. It may take 4 to 6 weeks before you notice physiological changes from this, but over time, practicing this will lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, improve digestion, improve circulation. It promotes sleep if you get up in the middle of the night for any reason. It is the most effective anti-anxiety technique that I've found. I've taught it to patients with the most extreme forms of panic disorder who eventually brought that under control just relying on this breathing technique. So please practice it, do it regularly, and I think you'll be very pleased with the results.
Okay. So that was pretty simple, right? I'm going to reshare again here. Let's get back to my little document. I'll go back over to here. All right. So let me just review this with you. So he didn't say the 8 part. So it's 4, it's inhaling for a count of 4. And it's not 4 seconds. It's whatever your 4 is. So you just have to be consistent. You're counting for a breath of 4, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're holding for a count of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're exhaling forcefully for a count of 8. So that's where the 8 comes in. I don't think he mentioned 8 in this video. He's got other videos too. And you're only doing it for 4 cycles. So 4 repeated times. And you do that twice a day. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you start doing this. When you start doing it, you want to do it for more. You want to do it more times a day. And you want to keep repeating it. And what I love about this is It doesn't go on forever, right? You're just doing it for that period of time. The most important piece of this, and he says what that is that it's a practice. You keep doing it. You keep doing it every day. And I think that's the key to this is getting into a habit and recognizing that this is something that's beneficial for you. So I love this technique. 4-7-8. Do it for yourself. You can teach your child. You can teach your parents. They're anxious. They're upset. This is just a great technique. And the fun thing is that because it's your counting 4, 7, and 8, you're not trying to match it to a clock, a watch, or anything like that. It's just your count. I love it. Now, the next technique, as I mentioned, for Believe is Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he has written, I think, a more recent book called Becoming Supernatural. I have 2 links here that
Yeah,
go
I wrote
to
Becoming Supernatural.
different pages. Let me go back here to open in a new thing. 2 links to his stuff. The first time you hear some of his stuff, it can be intimidating
Right, your
because
life. You have
he's
to change
very
your
scientifically
personality.
oriented, but I think that he has a really great way of explaining things. And I do really enjoy the fact that he has scientific research behind what he's doing. In fact, that's his mission because so much of the techniques that gurus have used to help with healing for so long have been considered esoteric and out there. And he actually uses like the heart math stuff. So he's measuring heart coherence and he's measuring brain waves and looking at the way those two connect, in addition to a lot of other types of scans that are very reputable and scientific based and you can see and measure. And then, of course, after that, you also have people that have certain disease states that completely disappear. So I really love his approach and what he's doing, and he's trying to bring into the mainstream this research on the mind-body connection. So I will post these 2 links, which are ones that I think are great to start with, but you can certainly explore more. I'll post those in our Positively Onward platform. And then this next technique is based on Dr. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? And this is, I think, from the 70s. And this is habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. Now, I've taken this and changed it, Lisa style, into a technique that if you've been a patient of mine for a while, then you may have heard me explain this depending on what we were discussing or working with. But this is a technique that I really love. It works really well. I also have a typo here. It looks like I need to fix, and I'll do that. So this works great if you're feeling anxious, stressed, fearful, or worried about a specific thing. And so a couple of the places where I've used it in my practice have been someone had a fear of flying, fear of they were going on a trip. They were really excited about the trip, but they were really stressed out about getting on the airplane and getting all their bags and just like all the different pieces that went into flying and getting a car and getting to the hotel and all that kind of stuff. And it was really affecting them a lot, their sleep, everything. I've used it also with women who've had miscarriages and then they're trying to get pregnant and then they get pregnant and then there's this whole fear that they're going to have another miscarriage. But it doesn't have to be as dramatic as that, but that's a really stressful, happy time, right? You're trying to be relaxed because you're pregnant and you want everything to turn out well. So those are examples, but it could be like kids getting afraid to get on the bus. It could be like in my mom's case, worried about the occupational therapist coming over and asking her to do something that she's afraid she can't do. So it could be for any like really big thing. It could be for any really small thing. So the first step of this is to just feel the feeling. Just acknowledge that you feel, put a word to it. I feel stressed. I feel fearful. I feel worried. I feel anxious. It's okay to have those feelings. Like I said, one of the things I love about Chinese medicine is that we acknowledge that all of our feelings, all of our emotions provide information to us. There's information behind it. If we can get the information and then let go of the feeling, then that's the ultimate use of our feelings. Fear, uh, if there's a bear coming at us, fear is a really good thing. Like it's going to tell us, like, run, get out of here. But then when we're done, we can't stay in that state of fear all the time. We have to be able to let it go. So first thing is to just identify the feeling and then give it a sentence. I say, give it, I'm stressed out about flying. I'm afraid I'm going to have a miscarriage. I'm worried that kids are going to tease me on the bus. So you have to acknowledge it. That's the idea here. But we just don't want to stay in it because in some ways, we're grateful for that feeling. We're grateful because it's giving us information about ourselves. So if I'm afraid of flying, then maybe I'm afraid of dying. Like maybe I'm afraid it's going to crash. Is it that big? Or is it that people are going to laugh at me because I can't put my overhead in the overhead bin I can't put my luggage in the overhead bin by myself, or I'm going to need help or something like that. Like what is behind that? You don't have to spend too much time on that. As long as you feel the feeling and you give it a little bit of a sentence, you're good. So don't dwell too long in there, but just kind of acknowledge. And then this is my favorite part. This could take a minute, this part here. Think of your special place, your happy place, right? So your happy place can be a real place or an imagined place. It doesn't matter. But it has to be a place that you can close your eyes and imagine you're there and feel it. So for me, my happy place is either sitting in a chair in my living room or laying on my bed, and my cat is on my lap purring. And I could do that all day. Like that to me is just heaven. My cat's purring. I'm happy. I love that. I can't imagine that and not smile because it just makes me so happy. So you have to find and think of and imagine that place that makes you feel really good. Like I said, it could be a place you imagine. It could be a waterfall or being at the beach or hiking in the woods in a snowstorm. That for some people, that's something that they would love to do. It could be with people that have passed away already. It could be with your parents or a dog that has passed away. It doesn't matter, but you have to have the ability to imagine and feel that sensation. So for me, it's my cat on my lap purring. I'm in my happy place. So this is what you want to do. I'll go through this and then we'll go back through it. We can try it out. You want to, while you're in that happy place, you want to pretend that you have already accomplished the thing that you're worried about, the thing that you're afraid of. So while you're in that place, you want to imagine that you're there and you've already taken that flight. You had a great trip. All the flights were on time. Baggage was easily put up and down. You met some really great people. Everything was smooth sailing. You came back and now you're like just like feeling so good because you had a great trip. It was just a blast. You had so much fun. It was better than you imagined. Wasn't that great? And you could imagine yourself telling your friends, oh, I had a great trip. It was so fun. Everything went great. Flights were smooth. It was no problem. It was so fun. Another way to think of this is you're in that happy place. You're feeling really good. And you got your baby in your arms, cooing, slobbering, soft and smelly, that great baby smell, perfectly healthy. And you're on the phone and you're telling so-and-so, your friend, about how beautiful the birth was and what a great pregnancy it was. It was so easy. You didn't have any morning sick. It was just great. Little baby right here. So sweet. Birth was perfect. So do you see what I'm doing? While I'm in that place of feeling really good, I'm acting as if whatever I'm worried about, it's over, it's done. And I'm in the future talking about it as if it's in the past. And I'm going into detail about how great things are now. And I'm imagining the end in mind. I'm imagining the end that I want in mind. So that's where we're down here. We're imagining yourself telling people how great everything went. You're filling in some of the details, not too many details. You don't have to know how it all worked. You just have to imagine the end piece, what you want. And then you want to speak a new sentence. You want to end this meditation, this process with, oh, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm home from that trip and everything went well and I got the job or I had fun at Disney, whatever you did. Oh, it was just so fun. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm back home and everything went great. I'm so happy and grateful that I have my baby and she's healthy and cooey and everybody's over and we're all holding her. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have, or now that I am, or now that I feel. And you can fill that in any way you want. And you can do this. I recommend doing this often. You actually don't have to wait until you're fearful, worried, or stressed, but that's usually the indication that we need to do this. This is just a great technique to practice. And you can change the endings. You can have different endings. It doesn't have to be the exact same kind of meditation every time. So you can shift it, change it around. You might, when you start to feel the feeling, because you've done this a couple times, you might notice the feeling's a little bit different. And so you can work with that. And actually, that's great. If the feeling changes, if you're not as stressed out or anxious, but maybe you feel something a little different that's coming up, then you can work with that. You can work with that feeling. So that's my technique for dealing with any kind of anxious, stress, fearful, worry kind of situation. And it works especially great with kids because kids have super imaginations. Sometimes as adults, we can get stuck with, "Oh, I can't imagine myself sitting with a cat on my lap." And you don't have to actually see it. You just have to feel it. You just have to feel that purriness. If it helps to look at a picture, a photo, or something like that, if it helps to look at something, you can do that as long as you can feel that sense of relaxation and happiness and joy. So you need to get into that sort of space before you do the rest of the projecting yourself a week or a month or a year, whatever it is in the future. It could be just a few days in the future. And then imagining, telling yourself how great everything went and telling other people how great it all went. And then you speak that new sentence, "I'm so happy and grateful now that I have whatever it is I was worried about." Okay. I love to hear your experiences with trying this out. So I will post this in our Positively Onward section here so you can have that. You can do a screenshot of it or you can actually just download the PDF that I have here. So I hope this helps you, gives you some ideas and ways to really in the moment, if you're feeling anxious, upset, sad, which we all do, right? Check on your breath. That's going to be the first thing that you do is just observe it. Make sure you're breathing, shift it around in your body. Try the 4-7-8 technique where you're inhaling for 4 breaths, you hold it for 7, exhale for 8, and then you repeat that for a total of 4 times. Do that twice a day. Start today. Start today. So you've got June, July, and August. Let's try to do this through the summer together. Every day, twice a day, do 4, 7, and 8, and let me know how it makes you feel. All right? That's my only homework for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope you guys have a great day and continue to move positively onward. Thank you.